In most countries, watching a foreign film, choosing a hairstyle, or making a phone call abroad are ordinary parts of life. In North Korea, activities that seem completely harmless elsewhere can attract government attention, and in some cases, extremely serious punishment. But the most revealing part of North Korea's restrictions isn't how strange some of them sound. It's what they tell us about the system itself. Because behind rules governing television, communication, travel, and even the treatment of leaders' portraits lies something much bigger. An attempt to control not only what people do, but what information reaches them in the first place. Subscribe to Uncovering North Korea, because the deeper we look inside this country, the more we discover that isolation is not simply a consequence of geography. It is built into everyday life. Perhaps the clearest example is television. North Korean broadcasting operates under state control. Citizens do not have anything resembling the enormous choice of news, entertainment, and streaming services available across much of the world. That matters for reasons far beyond entertainment. Television helps people understand what is happening outside their immediate surroundings. Foreign films reveal how people elsewhere live. International news exposes viewers to competing explanations of world events. For an authoritarian government built around information control, those outside perspectives can become dangerous. North Korea has therefore spent decades restricting access to foreign media, while the state presents its own version of history, politics, and international affairs. But that hasn't completely stopped outside information from entering the country. Foreign television programs, films, and music have reportedly circulated illegally, particularly material from South Korea. The authorities have responded with increasingly severe laws designed to punish people who consume or distribute prohibited content. And this is where something as ordinary as watching television becomes politically significant. A South Korean drama does more than entertain. It can show North Koreans cities filled with shops, privately owned cars, fashionable clothing, and lifestyles that may conflict with what state propaganda has taught them about the outside world. Once that comparison exists, controlling the narrative becomes much more difficult. But television is only one barrier. Communication with the outside world is also heavily restricted. North Korea has developed a domestic mobile phone network, and millions of people have gained access to mobile devices over the years. Yet possessing a phone does not mean possessing unrestricted communication. For ordinary users, the domestic network is largely separated from the international telecommunications system. Calling someone in another country is therefore nothing like making an international call from Britain, America, or South Korea. Near the Chinese border, some North Koreans have reportedly attempted to use illegally obtained foreign phones and Chinese networks to contact relatives outside the country. Doing so can be extraordinarily risky, and consider what that means for families. Someone can escape North Korea, begin a completely different life elsewhere, and leave relatives behind who cannot simply telephone them whenever they choose. The border therefore separates more than countries. It can separate information, relationships, and entire families. Then there is Pyongyang. Images of the North Korean capital often dominate international coverage. Enormous monuments, broad avenues, modern apartment towers, and carefully maintained public spaces. But Pyongyang is not representative of the entire country. Living there is itself a privilege. Residence is regulated by the authorities, and political status can influence where people are permitted to live. Those considered dependable by the state have historically enjoyed advantages unavailable to many people elsewhere. Travel within North Korea is also restricted. Citizens generally cannot simply decide to relocate from a provincial town to the capital because they prefer the opportunities there. And that creates an unusual geography of privilege. The closer someone is to the political center, the more different their experience of North Korea may become. But perhaps nothing demonstrates the reach of the state more clearly than the rules surrounding the Kim leadership. Portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il are displayed prominently in homes and public buildings, and citizens are expected to treat them with extraordinary care and respect. To an outsider, this can appear almost impossible to understand. But North Korea's political system has spent generations constructing a personality cult around its leaders. Kim Il-sung was not presented merely as the country's founding political figure. His image became inseparable from the identity of the state itself. After his death in 1994, that system did not disappear. It continued under Kim Jong-il and later Kim Jong-un. Public mourning has consequently carried political significance. During important anniversaries connected to deceased leaders, behavior expected from citizens can be carefully regulated. Reports about these periods sometimes produce dramatic claims that North Koreans are simply forbidden to smile. The reality requires more context. Authorities have imposed mourning periods during which celebrations, drinking, and other activities considered inappropriate can be restricted. The important point is not whether every facial expression is literally monitored. It is that even private emotion can become entangled with demonstrations of political loyalty. You may have heard that North Koreans can choose from only a government-approved list of 28 hairstyles. Photographs of hairstyle charts inside North Korean salons have circulated around the world, helping create one of the most famous stories about the country. The government has attempted to influence clothing, hairstyles, entertainment, movement, communications, and access to information because all of these things can expose citizens to influences beyond state control. Perhaps the darkest example involves collective punishment. Testimony from former prisoners and investigations into North Korea's detention system have described relatives being punished because of the alleged political offenses of another family member. The concept is sometimes described as punishment across 3 generations. Exactly how consistently such practices are applied is difficult to establish from outside the country, but the broader use of guilt by association has been documented in accounts of the political prison system. Its purpose is chillingly effective. If your own actions could endanger your parents, children, or siblings, fear becomes much more powerful. The government no longer has to control only one individual. Family responsibility becomes another mechanism of obedience. And that may be the most important lesson behind North Korea's supposedly crazy laws. Some stories circulating online are exaggerated, others simplify complicated restrictions into bizarre-sounding rules. But beneath them is a very real system of control. Information is restricted. Movement is controlled. Political loyalty can influence opportunity. Foreign culture is treated as a potential threat. And communication with the outside world can carry enormous risk. Individually, these restrictions may seem unrelated. Together, they reveal something much larger. North Korea's isolation is maintained not only by soldiers, fences, and one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth. It is also maintained inside homes, televisions, telephones, and everyday decisions. That is what makes the system so powerful. The border doesn't simply surround the country. In many ways, it follows people into their daily lives. And if you want to uncover more stories hidden behind one of the world's most secretive regimes, make sure to subscribe to Uncovering North Korea.